Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another live chat. My name is Laken, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer all of your questions about goals, planning, life, and everything else in between. And I'm so excited to hang out. I did some digging back in the archives and discovered that this week marks 2 years since I moved these over to YouTube. And I've missed a couple of weeks here and then when I've been traveling, but that means we have been chatting on YouTube Live almost 100 times in the last 2 years, that is just mind blowing to me. Like the fact that it's been that long. It actually started over on Instagram in March of 2020, and then I migrated it over to YouTube in May. So it's been 2 years, which is just it's, the fact that we still have things to talk about after 2 years is absolutely amazing to me. So thank you all so much for all of you who show up every week and ask questions and hang out with me. I very, very much appreciate it. So let's kick it off with our first question that I always start with, which is, what are you drinking? I have an iced latte today. When you see the thumbnail, it's a hot cup because that's what I had planned to do. And then when I went to go make it, I was like, it is way too hot outside and hot in here. It was cold when I took the thumbnail because I had the AC on, but now that I've turned the AC off because it's really loud, I switched over to iced. So I'm drinking an iced coffee today, cold brew from Trader Joe's, which is my favorite. Let me know what you are drinking. Hello, Janie. Thank you for the congrats. Laura, 2 years. Yeah, still going strong. I know. And I mean, there are weeks that I feel like sometimes we kind of go off topic and talk about all kinds of random things, but I always feel like there's at least something useful in every single one. And I appreciate y'all for asking great questions that lead to that. All right, we've got Pepsi, coffee with oat milk. Laura, that's what I have too. It's oat milk. If you've never watched any of my vlogs, if you're not a vlog person, it's cold brew concentrate from Trader Joe's, oat milk, and then a little bit of protein shake to add sweetness, and also a little bit of protein, but really it's not that much. Okay, coffee, lemonade, Coke. Ooh, a homemade medicine ball tea. Crystal, I've always wanted to make a homemade one because I feel hard. I feel hard. I struggle to like pay that much at Starbucks for it, but I've always wanted to try one at home, so that is awesome. Melissa, beer over in Belgium. End of the day over there. I love that. Tina, drinking green tea. Yum. All right, y'all. Before we get into the questions today, I am going to tell you a little bit more about the in-person event that I am having next July. I am so far ahead in filming videos like vlogs and plan with me's that I wasn't going to be able to put it into a different video. So I am putting it into this video. So I'm going to go ahead and share. I have a couple of slides. Oh, that is not where we wanted to start, but I have a couple of slides that I wanted to share some information. I'm doing it at the beginning. That way anybody that wants this info can catch the replay. It's at the very beginning. And then if you have any questions about it, you can ask those as well. So the workshop that I'm putting on in July is called Second Half Success. And the focus of it is to give you tools to help make sure that you follow through on your goals in the second half of the year. So what it is not is a goal refresh. That will still be part of Patreon, and that will still be in June, where we will do a goal refresh, just like any other quarterly refresh, with maybe a little bit more talk about it being like this middle of the year, but it will be essentially a quarterly refresh, and that will be the same. That will be part of Patreon, and that will be the last Saturday in June. Then in July, so 2 weeks after that, we're going to have a holiday in between. 2 weeks later in July, I'm going to do a workshop that's about following through. So you just refreshed your goals. You've got them all set and ready to go. How do you make sure that you actually follow through on those action steps and not just let them sit in your planner, Power Sheets, Moxie Life, whatever you use for the rest of the year? So that is what the workshop is going to be focused on. I already posted the save the date on Instagram, but it is going to be Friday, July 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern is the time. It is at Uncommonly Studio in Brooklyn, which is a venue space owned by it's owned by a good friend of mine and run by another really good friend of mine, both of whom were at our wedding. And I'm just so excited to be partnering with them and using their studio space. It's beautiful. They are installing a new art exhibit on the walls as we speak. And I am so excited. That's what will be on the walls when we're there in July. And I just cannot wait to see it in person. I browsed the artist's website and she uses a bunch of bright colors. Very on brand. I'm very excited. It is in Brooklyn. It's kind of the border of Brooklyn and Queens. You could argue it is either one. So for those of you who are driving, if you're driving from the northern suburbs, from Long Island, from New Jersey, parking is super easy. There's tons of street parking. It's very easy to park there. If you are coming from the city like me, it is less than a 5-minute walk from the L train. So, which has been like much more convenient than it used to be. The L train used to be the bane of my existence. And now it's actually like both times I've been out there, I've waited less than 5 minutes. So that is where it is located. If you are coming to the in-person version, we are going to have a wine reception afterwards. They have this cute little garden area. I gave a sneak peek of it on Instagram. Weather pending, we have a rain plan if we can't move it outside. We're just going to have a wine reception so we can hang out, take pictures, chat, and chill on a Friday evening and enjoy some wine. For those of you who do not live in or around New York City or aren't willing to make the trip out here, I say that please, if you are like, that's what the virtual is for. Do the virtual option and it will have a replay. So if you're like, I already have plans that night, you can still get a ticket to the virtual option and the replay will be live for a week following the session. So you'll have a week to watch the replay if you purchase a virtual ticket. All right, let's keep moving with information. This is just a little snippet of what you'll find on the page when you can go buy your ticket. But really what I want you to walk away from is how to achieve your goals despite your busy schedule. How can you make time for them? And I do not care what you've done so far this year. If you're just finding me and you have not even thought about goals yet for 2022, or whether you set up awesome goals in 2022, you've achieved a lot and you still want to achieve more, everybody is going to benefit from that. So a couple of other details in terms of dates. So if you are a member of the Patreon community, you will be able to get tickets first. That is because there's limited capacity for the in-person event. So I want to make sure that Patreon has the opportunity to purchase tickets first. That way, I've always promised that they will get the link first for anything. So that will go up live this Friday, like in 2 days. If you're watching this live or within the next couple of days, this Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Patreon members, everybody else on Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. There are not limited capacity for the virtual. There's no limit. So if you're looking for virtual, don't fret like that. Those will continue to be on sale. But if you do want to come in person, there is going to be limited capacity for in-person. Last final detail that I know you want to know is how much are tickets. So the in-person tickets are $50. That comes with the in-person workshop, which includes a printed copy of the workbook. So we're going to have a goal setting workbook to help you figure out the best way to follow through on any individual goal. And you're going to get a printed copy, maybe some other surprises. I'm still trying to nail down all of the details about all the things for the in-person, besides just the printed copy. And then the wine reception to follow. Virtual tickets are $25. You will get a digital version of the workbook. So that's it. That's all the information that I have about the event. If you have any other questions about it, if you're here live, you can drop them in the chat. If you are watching the replay, you can drop them in the comments. If you have a private question, a question you're not comfortable asking in front of other people, send me a DM on Instagram. I am really excited about this. I think that this is it's an opportunity for me to share some information, some knowledge that I think will really benefit you for the second half of the year. And then obviously for those that are able to attend in person, it's an opportunity for us to meet, finally meet in person. If you have been around, I had a planned scheduled in-person event in March of 2020 that I postponed twice and finally just ultimately canceled. And I am excited to be doing this again, working with Uncommonly Studio, allowing me to do that virtual option. Like they have it all set up. I don't have to worry about any of the details. They are operating that whole thing for me, which makes things so much easier. And I'm just super excited. I also was really looking at Manhattan when I was trying to make it convenient to me, but in reality, by going into an outer borough, I know that ability to drive makes it so much easier for a lot of people that live in the tri-state area. So that is all the information. I'm going to stop babbling. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm happy to move on to our regularly scheduled live programming and answering any other questions that you have about goals, planning, life, whatever it is. Oh my goodness, this platform is doing that thing where the bottom comment is like cut off halfway. So I can see that there's another comment, but I can't see what it says yet. It frustrates the heck out of me. So a couple other people sharing their drinks. Monster, chai latte. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. And unsweetened iced tea. Love that. Oh, Allison. Okay. Not a bad price. Thanks. I was trying really hard to keep it covering costs, right? There's a cost to being in the in-person space, to having the virtual setup there, printing out the physical products, the wine for the reception, all of those things. So, Cheney, I can see that you have commented, but it is cut off. I'm so excited and wanted to join, but life changes. Also, you live on the other side of the country. So, like, it's understandable that you can't make it out here. And I realized that this is a little bit of short notice. That was my one hang up. But again, timing. I felt like this information just needed to get out. Like, I needed to give it to you. And so that was that. I realized that if you don't live around New York, you're like, I would have traveled if I'd gotten a little bit more advance notice. Sorry. I got a tickle in my throat. So yeah, if when we do another one of these in the future, hoping to give a little bit more of an advance notice in terms of timing. Hoping to squeeze another one in with Uncommonly maybe in the fall is what I'm like late, not late fall, because I feel like late fall is like basically the holidays, but like before that, like not September, maybe October. Allison, did you dye your hair a different color, or is it just the maroon top making it look slightly different? So it's two things. Number one, my hair fades. Like it looks like it changes colors over the course of the month because the dye just fades. Most of the time I end up re-dyeing my hair, less about the growth and more about just that it's faded to a color I don't like. I like the freshly dyed color that I always dye it. And then I do think there's something, probably the coloring is making it look a little bit different. It's like my shirt is, maybe the lighting also looks kind of weird because my shirt is actually like a plum color, but it doesn't look like that. I realize that on the screen. See, Allie, I can see that you've commented. Oh, there we go. Such a great opportunity to travel to New York for the first time. Yeah, if you want to come to New York and make a weekend out of it, I would say it's a great time to be in New York. The summers can be a little bit hot. That weekend is going to be unpredictable. By the time that we would be outside, as long as it's not raining, the weather is going to be like, it will be cool enough for us to enjoy it. I just mean if you're going to make a weekend out of it and send Saturday and Sunday, it might be a little hot, but we won't know until we get closer to it. But I also think the summer is a good time to come to New York because a lot of people that live here will leave for the summer or like leave on the weekends, and it can be a little less crowded. Cheney, I feel like it was enough notice and you were going to book it, but life. I mean, yeah, life, things happen. Life happens. Life comes first. Hopefully the next one you can make it. Allison, are you still doing something with the Enneagram survey information? I find the Enneagram very accurate. Do you mean from Patreon? Yeah. So I reach out. I actually started doing them this week. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek. I am doing a Enneagram series where I am talking about each Enneagram type as it relates to goals. And I am interviewing, interview is not the right word. It's not that formal. I'm chatting with somebody from the Patreon community for each of the Enneagram types. And I started doing them this week and it has been so much fun. So that series will be out later this summer, but that is what I'm doing with that information. I asked anybody who was part of the Patreon community if they wanted to be a part of it. And I started reaching out and started filming those. Oh, hello, Holly. I'm so glad that you're able to join live while you're watching lunch, while you're eating lunch. I don't think I've caught you live since March. Well, you've also been busy getting married and doing life things. So Loretta, going to have to catch the replay. Yeah, I know that those of you over on the other side of the pond, it's 7 p.m. Eastern is not going to be convenient in terms of your being able to join live, but that is why you are able to catch the replay. But thank you for the congrats on 2 years. I love that you have watched every single one, even the OG Instagram ones. I wish I could find those. Also, they didn't save, or I must have had to click something to make them save, but I cannot find them. But yeah, I cannot believe it's been that long. Amy, happy 2 years. Thank you. You're drinking water, cutting back on iced coffee from 3 today to 2 a day. You know, you'll get used to it. I know that you're like, I'm struggling, I'm exhausted. Focus on that water. Focus on other things that that will give you energy. So like whether that's going for a walk, getting some fresh air, like watching something. Watching TV doesn't really give any of us energy, but maybe it like makes you excited or happy. Cleaning something, like think about the other things that give you energy besides caffeine and see if you can implement some of those. But I know that you will get used to it. What am I currently reading? You're reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Okay, I haven't even heard of that. So I moved on. I finished Throne of Glass, which I highly recommend in case I haven't talked about it enough. It's an incredible series. I moved on to A Court of Thorns and Roses. Guys, I have not been able to get into the first book. I'm trying. I'm working on it. And I know, like with any series, when you start at the beginning, it just takes some time to get into it. And then once I'm able to get into it, it will be better. I just like I'm struggling. I'm struggling to get into it, but I will get there. And then for nonfiction, why do I always mess those up? I have moved on to the next book. So I finished Woman Code, and I'm reading her next book, which is called In the Flow. How are your honeymoon plans coming? Holly, they're not really. By the way, I usually say this at the beginning, but I completely forgot. If your YouTube name is not your like name that you go by, please include your name in the comment. I happen to know Holly's because I know her. But if it's not, like, let me know what your name is. We have just been so focused on Ireland that we have not talked about Thailand, but we are hoping to talk about it on our flight, not our flight there, because our flight home, we need to sleep, but our flight home from Ireland, and then start booking stuff when we get back. Yeah, I know. Corey, what's your favorite way to get a midday energy boost? So for me, it's going outside. That's why I always give that example. Even if it's just like walking around like one block around my apartment, or it's taking my book and going to sit this little like, I can't call it a park because there's not any greenery, but it's like a little sitting area near my apartment that's concrete and has benches and picnic tables. But that's it for me. Like get outside fresh air. If it is not, the weather does not work for that. For me, yeah, it's hard. Like talking to somebody else. So like I'll call my mom or try and go talk to Sam, or like talking to somebody else. I will say this one is definitely harder depending on what you do for work and being somebody who does their hair and makeup every day. Not every day, but someone who does like to be like put together. Sam has been doing a Peloton as his like midday energy boost. So he was struggling to find a time to work out. He didn't like to do it in the morning because he would rather sleep and then move straight into work. Like that's just where his brain's at in the morning. He didn't want to do it after work because he was just too tired at that point. And so again, because he doesn't care, well, he can easily take a quick body shower and it doesn't change anything. When he has like an afternoon break, like he'll do like a 10-minute 15-minute class, but it gives him that energy boost and then also helps him get his workout in. So it might be doing something like that. Michelle, yes. Michelle was my very first, the Enneagram interview, chat, whatever you want to call it. I can't wait for you guys to see them. I'm so excited. Ooh, Allison, Holly Gabriel did an entire YouTube series on her month-long trip to Thailand. She stayed in hostels, but you might get some other tips. Okay, I will definitely check that out. Yeah, I was telling Sam and I've stayed in hostels before when I've traveled alone, or even when I've traveled with other people, like when I was younger. At this point, I was like, I am past that, especially because it's our honeymoon, and especially because everything over there is relatively inexpensive. So I'm like, we can stay at not hostels, but we mostly, I mean, the big step one is figuring out what cities we want to go to and how long we want to spend in them. Besides, obviously, I don't know if I've said this before, but we have like the big flights. We have the big international flights in and out of Bangkok, like from New York to Bangkok, but we don't have anything else. So that's like the next step to figuring that out, is what cities are we going to while we're there and how long do we want to spend in each one? Claire, I like this question. How is your planner stack working for you? Have you made any changes to your lineup? So I am trying to think back to what I included in that video when I did my 2022 planner lineup back in December of last year. I think one big thing that's changed is I am not using that golden coil that I reference as my business planner. I just cannot, all that stuff I need digital. I cannot figure out how to do that on pen and paper. So that is something that I have changed, is that I switched all of my business stuff to be digital, and I haven't been doing any of that. I haven't been using my golden coil. It's literally just like sitting there. And then I haven't really used the Moxie Life Daily at all. I need hours. I realize like my daily planners need to already have the hours printed in them. That's like the whole point of a daily for me, is having hours. So I have not been using the Moxie Life Daily at all. I either use the Full Focused Daily on when I travel, and then I use the Amplified Planner when I'm at home. I think everything else in that video is still the case in terms of my planner stack. It's working for me. I mean, if you watch my Plan With Me videos, which recently I just posted one, there was a lot of requests to do a weekly and a daily combined. So you can see like how I set up my week and then how I adjust it day by day. I always mention kind of the things I would change about the planners that I use, like little things. Like I wish that my weekly planning pad from Ink and Bolt had Saturday and Sunday on it. And I wish that the Amplify planner, like the spaces were a little bit bigger, but otherwise the setup works for me. And I haven't found anything that fixes those, that doesn't cause other problems that I'm not willing to work with, like no coil or bad paper. So I think it's been working for me. Oh, here's another Thailand recommendation. Lost LeBlanc. Like Matt LeBlanc. That's what I think of when I read that name. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate that. Amberly, I love those month-long vlogs, especially international. They're so good for picking out things to do in those places. Yeah, maybe what I'll do, y'all, because I have YouTube Premium, so I can download YouTube videos, is like download all those videos, and then we could watch them together on the plane, or even while we're there in Ireland, and start picking out what we want to do. I know it feels kind of silly to be like planning the next trip while you're on a trip, but it's like uninterrupted time that Sam and I are going to have together. So I feel like it's a good time for us to start planning. It is also hard for us to plan a trip when we haven't gone on this one yet. It feels like everything I should be doing is preparing or planning for Ireland. In the future, I don't foresee us doing 2 international trips, A, so close together, and B, and even in the same calendar year. And that just, it financially and work-wise just doesn't seem to make sense. This year just happened to be unique that we had a wedding and then also our own honeymoon. Had one of those 2 things not been true, we would have not done one of them. In retrospect, kind of wish we had just extended the Ireland trip and postponed our own honeymoon to next year. But also, I don't really want to wait that long for other life things. So it is what it is. Corey, do you do any end of day planning prep for the upcoming day? That's a great question. Most of the time, the answer is no. The only way that I do prep for the upcoming day is I will write things that pop up in my head in this section of my Amplify planner of like things I want to do tomorrow. But at the end of the day, my brain is fried and I am ready to just like not look at paper and writing and like just relax. And so I won't do any planning. And then I feel like I've mentioned this in a couple Plan With Me's, but the other reason I don't like to plan the night before is I like to, what if something happens, I can't fall asleep, or I fall asleep super early. If I end up getting up at a different time the next day than I had put down on the planner, it throws me off. And I know that is just like, that's just a personal struggle that I don't necessarily feel like I need to overcome. But like let's say I wrote in my planner that I was going to get up at 6, and then I either fall asleep super early and get up before that, or I stay up way later than planned and sleep in past that, then my planner is all off. And that drives me, like, it just doesn't work for me. So that's like probably the biggest reason I wait till the next morning to really plan out my day. And then the other reason is then I can kind of lean into my energy or the weather if it's really off in some way, shape, or form. If you did watch the weekly and daily plan with me, for the most part, I follow what I had said on my daily. I just adjusted a little bit based on what time I woke up and based on what I didn't get done the day before, because I'm always too ambitious on what I'm going to get done the day before. But I don't really do anything at the end of the day. That was a long way to answer no. Are you just staying in Ireland when you travel, or will you visit anywhere else in Europe? No, we're just staying in Ireland. Neither of us have ever been to Ireland. So we're doing 10 days in Ireland and going to really 4 different cities. The one that we're going to for the wedding is just outside of Dublin. So and we're not going to actually see the city. We're going to see the hotel that we're staying at for the wedding. So we are staying in 4 different places, like like in terms of sleeping, which makes me feel like I need to be a lot more thoughtful with my packing when I am given that we're going to unpack and repack every 2 to 3 days. Great question. Are you taking your planner on your trip? If so, which planner will you take? I'm going to take the full focus planner. Not necessarily because I feel the need to plan out my trip. It's mostly, well, it's for 2 things. One, I want to make some notes of some business related type posts that I still want to post while I'm gone. A lot of things will go up automatically. YouTube videos go up automatically. All the Patreon content goes up automatically. The only Instagram stories is the only thing I have not figured out. I think there is a way to do it. I just haven't figured it out. And so for all the YouTube videos that go up, I do still want to post on Instagram stories. So at least that. I also, and I feel like I mentioned this before, let me grab it. The thing I love about the full focus planner is that each day has a full, I get to a daily notes page on the left side. And so I liked this page if I do want to journal about something, or I want to write down a memory or something that we ate, like something that I didn't take a picture of, but I don't want to forget, right? I like having that full notes page per day that I can write things down. So that's why I take my full focus planner with me. So I'm definitely taking that on my trip. Thailand, maybe not, because I am on our trip to Ireland. I am not working, but I am still going to be checking a lot of things and responding to a lot of things. Thailand, it might be a different story. I may just take a notebook. So it depends. We'll see. I found writing down my wake up time the night before is a good motivator to get out of bed. If that is what works for you, absolutely, Corey. I think that can be really helpful. Because I'm a morning person, because I love my morning routine, that's not really an issue for me. It's just, that's not something that I struggle with. So I more struggle with the fact that if I'm 30 minutes earlier or 30 minutes later and then my planner's off, that frustrates me more than not being able to get out of bed. Yeah, it's just not something I struggle with. Okay, I think I'm caught up on comments, but again, like I couldn't even read that last one from Corey because it's like half covered, and I don't necessarily know why StreamYard does that. I don't know how to fix that. Yeah, I can't seem to figure out how to fix it. Anyways, those are a lot of great questions. I feel like we're almost having 2 conversations, like related to trip, but also related to planning. Both topics I am very happy to continue talking about. I am filming a video that is all about prep for travel and like all the things that I'm doing. It's weekly vlog style. It is not a weekly vlog in the sense that I'm filming all the things, but it's weekly vlog style in the sense that I'm filming little things throughout the next week that I'm doing to prepare for our trip to Ireland. That video won't be up for a while, but I am kind of talking about it, all the things I planned, like when I booked flights, when I booked hotels, all of those kinds of things. And then all of the things I'm doing this week to plan and get ready to go. Oh, while I wait for somebody to say something, I'm going to write down something so that I don't forget. Okay. Now, are there really no more questions, or is there something wrong with my platform here? That's the last one I see. So I don't know if any of you are still hanging out and if there's more that I am not. Oh, there we go. Allison, I get so anxious before domestic travel. I don't know if I could do international, though I'd love to. Allison, so I wonder is it like I would figure out what, like, and you don't have to share this with us, but like just my thought process is asking yourself what do you get anxious about? Like, is it the actual plane? Like, is it actually flying? Is it being gone from your responsibilities? Is it like being not in a comfortable, like your own environment that you know well? Like what is it about it? And then trying to figure out from there what you can do to overcome that, and then start doing it on a smaller scale, right? Start with domestic and then maybe start with a longer domestic like California. I know that you're over here on the East Coast, so like go to California and then maybe upgrade to domestic. I say that knowing very well that my flight to Ireland is shorter than a flight to California, actually. So like, but it's different because the time change is massive and it's on a completely different island. So it is very different than being in California, where if I had to, I could pick up a car and drive home. So I think that would be where I would go with it. And you know what? Well, let me take this back. If you do want to overcome that, I've had this conversation with Sam about like what fears are worth overcoming, right? What fears are worth working through it and overcoming those fears so that we can do whatever on the other side. He is convinced that I need to like do like fear therapy to overcome my fear of snakes. And I'm just like, no, because that doesn't impact my life ever. Like it doesn't, I close my eyes when the snake is on the TV and I don't go into the snake parts of zoos. Like it's not that big of a deal. But so if you are somebody who you don't care about travel, and if it's not something you want to do, then then don't worry about it. But if it is something that you want to do, then I would make sure that you like start to ask yourself, what is it? And what is it that's making you anxious? And then, can you work through that? I would guess that there's a lot of great information out there that other people have been where you've been and whether they've overcome that or not. The first one that comes to my mind is Sam from Happily a Housewife. She had never flown anywhere and was like super, super scared to fly. And then finally flew for work because she basically had to, and now flies like all the time. So. I think I'm just a homebody sometimes. It's even hard to go to Queens. Great advice, though. Push through that discomfort if you want to, right? If you want to push through it. Michelle, would also be helpful to see a post-vacation video about getting back into routines. I did that. Is it up yet? I can't even remember now. I have been filming vlogs so far in advance, y'all, that I can't even remember if this video is up. Either there is a vlog about this topic or it's coming, or there is a vlog coming about this topic. It might be this week's vlog. I don't know. What are you most excited about for your trip to Ireland? Amy, I mean, really it's the wedding. Like I'm excited about the wedding and celebrating our friends and them getting married. Other than that, I am really, really excited about the Game of Thrones tour. Y'all, we're doing a full day tour. Like it is the entire day and we're going to Game of Thrones filming spots. And as two people who are big fans, I'm really excited for that. Ariana, goal question. Always here for the goal questions. When you decide to focus on one goal as your priority, do you still work on other goals in tiny steps or not at all? That is a great question because I have talked a lot before about how you can, right? There's two options here. There is, you can focus in on one goal, make it your priority and really dig deep on that one goal, or you can work on a lot of goals at once and understand that you're going to have smaller progress. So really, there's no one right answer. I mean, I think you probably know that. I think the first question to ask yourself is are these other tiny steps that you are considering keeping, are they time constraints, right? Because there are some tiny steps like getting your water in that are not necessarily things that are time constraints that would impact you from that other goal. Now, mentally, it might take you away from your other goal, but time constraints not going to take you away. So that would be the first thing that I think of. If these are tiny steps that you are maintaining, are they things that you've already been working on and you're just keeping up with them? If that's the case, I would continue them because I wouldn't want to lose that momentum if I do ever want to go back into that. In fact, I would even maybe see if I could make it smaller, but if it's something I had already built up, I wouldn't want to lose that. So I would keep going. If they are new things, I would probably second guess if they were new things. And then I think it would also depend on how long you plan to focus on that one goal as a priority. I actually, on one of the Enneagram calls, I was chatting with somebody who was studying for a certification test for work. And she basically let every other goal go. I mean, she has 3 young kids. She, besides studying for this certification test for work, she let every other goal go. But it was only for 8 weeks. So she knew that like, this is what I'm focusing in on, which might be the goal that you're asking about, but for you, but it was a short time period, right? Like she knew it was going to be short. So letting those things go for 2 months is not as big of a deal. Whereas if the one goal you want to make a priority is something that's going to take you a year, you might not want to let go on even a little bit of progress on all these other goals while you're working on that. Once the travel chat is done, did you see that Amplify announced a partnership program? I did not. I just read that so fast because I got so excited. I did not. That is not something. And I mean, frankly, I'm not, it's not the end of the world for me to use a product. I'm definitely not the kind of person or a planner that is going to pick my products based on which companies have affiliate links and which ones pay more and whatnot. But I'm definitely going to go check that out as soon as this live is over. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, the post routine went up a few weeks back. Okay. So whoever asked for that, I will link it in the description when this video is over. Holly, it wasn't after my wedding. It was after a different wedding. When we went to Austin for a different wedding, it was that Monday we got back. That's when I filmed it. I just don't know when it went up. Yeah, it must be up by now because I'm just now getting like a month ahead. And that was like April like 11th. What are you looking forward to seeing or going to on your Thailand trip? So for me, I'm really excited about the food. I love Thai food and I'm excited to eat a bunch of the food. And I think we're going to do a cooking class while we're there. And then I am really excited for just to like, for that grammar was all wrong. I'm excited to just rest a little bit. I am the kind of person for a short period of time that can do nothing on vacation, like literally just sit on the beach with a book and a drink and be really happy. Sam is not that person, but we are going for 2 weeks. And so he said we can have at least a day or two where we sit and do nothing in like a really nice beach setting. And I'm really, really excited about that. Like our Ireland trip is going to be a blast, but it is go, go, go. Like there's not a lot of downtime scheduled into our trip to Ireland. And having just traveled for a wedding from California to DC, have a day or two extra of meds, undies, etc. Everyone traveling home had their flights canceled. Absolutely. I think what the best one there is meds. Especially if it's something that you have to take every single day, always, always, always take extra. Unless I'm traveling to somewhere like in the middle of nowhere, I always have the mindset that like, if something happens, I could get to a Target, I could get to a Walmart, I could get to a Walgreens and I could get whatever I needed to get. Meds are going to be that one thing that like, you can't do that. Ooh, Melissa, this is an interesting question. I'm doing my annual goals July 2022 to June 2023 as it lines up when I'll finish my work assignment in Brussels and move to my next assignment. Is there anything to keep in mind or do differently since it's mid-year and not January through December? 2 goals I've settled on so far: prepare for international relocation and start learning language of your new country assignment. First off, that's really exciting. Thank you for sharing. I think that's awesome. Second off, there really isn't anything to do differently. And I say this in my one-on-one calls. There's a session in the one-on-one program where we talk about goal refreshes and what that looks like for like that individual person, what works for them. And one of the things I say when we talk about annual goal refreshes is, number one, if you, at any point you feel like you need an annual goal refresh and it's not December, take it. Like refresh your annual goals, aka your big picture goals, whenever you feel like you need to. Second, if the annual setup that we all typically operate on January through December doesn't work for your life, whether it's because you are having a big shift at work, or maybe you're having a baby, or you're a teacher and that just doesn't line up with your life, or you, I worked with someone one time who was an accountant who wanted their new year to start May 1st. Like that is what worked for them. There is really nothing different. And especially because you're doing July through June, it even more so doesn't really feel like it has to be anything different because you can operate the same quarterly refresh that everybody else would do. Yours is just going to be like your second quarter of those annual goals when everybody else is doing their third quarter of this set of goals. Same thing applies to quarterly goals. By the way, y'all, the quarter is a great way to chunk up your annual goals. But if the quarters that work, or the quarters that are set up for the calendar don't work in your life, don't refresh with the quarters. Refresh when it makes sense for you. I know a lot of people, if the summer is a big difference for you, whether you are a teacher, you work in the education system, or you have kids and it feels different, the summer feels different, the June, July refresh may not make sense for you. like that might not work for your life because that's in the middle of a different kind of a season for you. So you might be better off refreshing earlier or later based on that. So same thing can apply here for you, Melissa. Like even though you're starting July 1st on your new goals, if an October 1st refresh doesn't make sense for you, even though it's been 3 months, like do it on a different cadence. Otherwise, there's really no difference. Just don't try really hard. If you need to not get caught up in the excitement in December. That is where I think you might get hung up, is in December when everybody else is like, oh my God, new goals, new planners, new goals, all the things. And you're like, I'm still focused on these. If you still want to stay focused on those, it's going to be just like making sure you stay focused on those. Holly, organization question. Many times I start sorting through office planning stuff, and every time I get overwhelmed with so many different types of things, I don't know what to do at all. Yeah, I feel you on that. And really, we all just end up with way more stuff than we could possibly ever use, probably in our lifetimes. I mean, look at that massive amount of washi. Like, it looks pretty in the background. Am I going to use all that? Probably not. In fact, I just pulled out washi the other day to use for something. This wasn't the other day, it was like a month ago, but it was bad. Like the washi had gone bad. So that is a huge bummer. So I think first thing is, if you are going through trying to find something that you want to use, think about what do you need first and then start going through the stuff. Like what, not going through the stuff and being like, how can I use this? Saying I need something that suits this need, and then go through your stuff with that need in mind. I think also it's okay to get rid of some of it. Like the money is spent, the money is gone. If you cannot foresee yourself using it in the next like year, maybe 2, I would donate it or sell it, because it's going to overwhelm you instead of benefit you for sure. So, but I get it. You're not alone. I feel the same way. Cindy, this is a great tip. I used to be more anxious about travel, fearing I'd forget to pack something. Now I've revised my big packing list to list of group like items, clothes, toiletry, shower items, etc. I love that tip so much. I do think that having like a standard packing list can really help you like relieve some of that anxiety when you're traveling. And then again, this also and this will be in that video, but my packing also varies based on where I'm going. Am I going somewhere where am I going home? Like, am I going to my parents' house or like a family member's house where I know I can have access anything that I want, or I have somebody that will like help me go get it? Am I going somewhere where I won't have access to those things, but I'm not far from like a Target if I like desperately forgot something? Or like going international, I'm trying really hard not to need to go buy new things. Not that they don't have drugstores in Ireland. If I did need something, I could go get it, but trying to pack with that in mind, just different in each place. Holly, it's more, how do I organize for storing and finding when I need it? Oh, goodness. So that is going to be, I'm not necessarily going to be the best person to give that advice, because as somebody who lives in New York, I feel like my storage setup is always very different than other people's. So I don't know if I'm going to be the best person. I think thinking about how you look for it is a really good place to start. I feel like I read that in a book somewhere and I can't remember where, but like, where do you look for things? That's how you should store it. Like if you're going to look for things in a certain way, store it in that certain way. And then maybe it was Decluttering at the Speed of Life is the book that I always recommend when it comes to any kind of home organization type stuff. Even if you don't feel like you need to get rid of anything, reading that book might help, because she talks about something called the container concept, which is if you're going to store something in a certain spot, the limit to the number of things you can have is how many things fit in that spot. Like, for example, I only store books on these 2 shelves. So if I get another book, it has to fit on these 2 shelves. Otherwise, like I have to get rid of another book, or I can't buy a new book because there's not space for it, because that's my space, my container for books. And she talks a lot about it with more examples in the book. So that might be a place to start. Or watching The Home Edit on Netflix. I have not watched it yet. I feel like if I do, it's going to send me into some like spiral of needing to reorganize, and we don't need that right now. My throat is like super itchy today. Anybody else? I just feel like there's just something in my throat. Like all day. I can't. I want to itch it on the inside. Yes, Dana White is the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life, and she does have YouTube videos as well. I've never really watched any of her YouTube videos, but I do know that she has them. It's not my mom reorganizing her house and is my motivation to get rid of stuff. Yeah, we all have a lot of stuff, and it's hard to kind of rein it all in sometimes. Um, and I do like, while the home edit stuff always looks so beautiful, there is something to be said for like living in a house and having it be functional and having things be stored in a way that works well for you. But once again, as somebody who lives in New York and has a very limited amount of space, I don't have my storage setups are always going to be different than if I didn't live here. I mean, like my closet is, but my hall closet is part coat closet, part pantry, part linen closet, part like extra cabinet space, like extra bathroom stuff. Cheney, downsizing from 1,200 to 700, 800. Good luck with that. Joanna, on Netflix, I prefer the Marie Kondo to the home edit. It's a bit more pragmatic. I find the home edit to be too much about buying a lot of, I don't know what that word is, Joanna, perspex? But I understand what you're saying. It's like buying stuff. So my struggle with the Marie Kondo method, which is why I always recommend Decluttering at the Speed of Life, is that most of us do not have the ability to put that area of our home on complete pause, to take everything out of it and then organize, declutter, whatever, and then put it all back in. Now, if you're doing a space that you have that, like it's a guest room or like your basement or your garage, like it might be different. You might be able to handle that. But like, I don't, or you set aside the time to do it and get back to it, right? Or like get back to what you needed to, right? If you were going to do your closet and you spent the whole day on a Saturday doing it, you could probably get back to it. But most of us just don't have that. We don't have the space. We don't have the time to declutter the way the Marie Kondo method works. I get mentally why it works well. Practically, it's very, very difficult. The Decluttering at the Speed of Life talks about that. And that is why it's at the speed of life, because you're going to declutter while also being able to live in your space, which is what she talks about. Anyway, I feel like I very much talk about that all the time. Oh yeah, Joanna, I agree. She said, I totally agree, re her method, but the show is helping very normal people with normal lives. Agreed completely. Like the people on the show, the Marie Kondo show I have watched, and I love the people on the show, and I love seeing the actors, and it's always really exciting. I just do feel like it's really tough to do in like real life. Here's another organizing recommendation for you, Holly Clutterbug. Oh, Carol, started listening to Decluttering at the Speed of Life at your recommendation, and it's been great. Yes, I also listened to it when I was packing. That was one of you recommended for me to do that, and it was great. Heather, the By the Book podcast on Marie Kondo was the funniest thing I ever heard. I used to love this podcast, By the Book. I recommended it all the time, and then it started to just get really repetitive, or I didn't like the books they were doing. I'm sure I listened to this one. I don't remember it at all, but they were always really entertaining. I always wanted to like go to one of their things in person here, and then COVID happened, and then I stopped really listening to them. But I would still they live here in New York. Would love to meet them someday here in New York. For me, there's a handful of those people that I like follow online that live here in New York that I'm like, oh, if I could just like run into them. It's like those two. And then Chelsea from the Financial Diet. Every time she posts about being in like a neighborhood, I'm like, maybe I should just go wander around the neighborhood a little bit. That sounds creepy. I won't do that. But I would love to meet her someday. Amy, do you have a favorite activity that you like to do in New York City in the summertime? It's really just like I need any bar and restaurant that I want to go to has an outdoor space, which thanks to COVID is a lot more normal. Now, I understand that if you're from New York or you live around here and you have a car, you probably disagree with what I'm about to say. But because like during COVID, a lot of the restaurants built a ton of extra outdoor seating, like on the street where like parking is normally. And now it's like restaurants. And I love it because it's a lot of extra outdoor seating. And that is my favorite thing about New York is like eating and drinking outside on rooftops outside. But now there's a lot more options of it. I get that it's annoying because it took up parking spaces. And so if you have a car, you're probably like, nope, they're annoying. I wish they would all go back inside. But that's probably my favorite thing to do in New York in the summer. Oh, this is your first time joining live. I'm so excited. Thank you for watching. I'm glad it was helpful. I can't believe it's already been 50 minutes now. See, this is it. The other thing, these lives fly by. I just like, I'm always so shocked. After 2 years, guys, we just found things to talk about for 50 minutes. How does that happen? Okay, I think I'm all caught up. Any other questions? Travel, planning, decluttering. I feel like that's what we've covered today. All right. Well, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to switch over to my last question that I always end the live on and ask you. Oh, I see some questions popping up. Hold on. We're going to do these first. How did you like Women Code? Amberly, it was okay. It wasn't as like life-changing as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I also didn't implement everything she said because it was a lot. I do feel like it was also a little outdated, which it was. Like it was written a long time ago. So I'm hoping that her next book is going to be a little bit better and something I can really like tap into more. I'm glad I read it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I think I give it 3 stars on Goodreads. It's because it's like sitting around chatting with good friends. Absolutely. Congrats on 2 years. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I know. I should have done something bigger to celebrate, but honestly, I lost track of time. And it's also, I'm thinking about next week is my YouTube anniversary. It's gonna be 4 years on YouTube next week. What? Don't go back and watch our first video. It's very bad. But 4 years just blows my mind. I appreciate it so much. How are you finding Court of Thorns and Roses? Claire, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the live. I'm still not into it. I'm trying to get into it. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm not as attached to the characters at the beginning as I was to the other characters. Or character for that matter. All right, let's end it on my last question, which is what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? Any small step that you are planning to take this week to make progress, it doesn't have to be massive. What is the small step that you're committing to in order to keep moving forward on the goals that you have for this year? Let us know in the chat if you're here live, and if you are watching the replay and you've made it this far, you're amazing. Thank you. Let us know in the comments. What is the one thing you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? It's batch week. Cheney, me too. Batch, I'm roundabouting the week because I leave Wednesday for Ireland. But same. Same. The chat today is driving me crazy. Okay. Oh my God. Planner setup. Always taking that time to set things up is really, really helpful. Make a summer bucket list. Michelle, I love that idea. That sounds like so much fun. Getting your new graph text set up this weekend. Amy, I don't even know what that is, but that sounds great. You've been hitting the snooze button lately. So the next week will be waking up no snooze. Melissa, let me give you a quick tip for this. As somebody who did break up with the snooze button, first off, try not to go from like whatever you're doing now to no snoozes. Like that's a lot. Either whatever time you've been snoozing to, set your alarm 10 minutes before that so that you only have time for one snooze. Or the opposite is give yourself the limit to the number of snoozes, right? So I'm going to give a concrete example. Let's say you've set your alarm for 7, you've been snoozing till 8. Option 1, set the alarm for 7:50 and you only get 1 snooze. Option 2, you get 5 snoozes. You set the alarm for 7, you get 5 snoozes. They're the same thing. You're still getting up at 7:50 is the goal, instead of trying to go from 8 to 7 and make that the goal. Sorry, I just had to comment on that. Okay. Catch up on one little word, not all of it, just 1 month. Yes, Joanna. Brainstorming June goals, planner setup. Clean out your Goodreads to be read as part of your digital cleanup. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about like my Goodreads as part of my digital thing. Oh, that's coming soon for me, like all the digital cleanup. Continue 5 minutes on the rower. I love that. Prepping for your niece's wedding this Saturday. Oh my God, Holly, that's so exciting. Congrats to her. Amanda, I was just editing your plan with me and you said, and then I had the live and I realized I missed it. That's all right. Thank you for editing that for us while we were here chatting. Okay. I'm glad that was helpful. I thank you all for an amazing 2 years. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I feel like I'm saying that like we're done, we're leaving. Like we're not. We're just celebrating 2 years. It's been so fun. If you found this video helpful, if you wouldn't mind giving it a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.